everybody. So today I'm back for another review video. This time it is the C6 Corvette Z06. This specific one is owned by my uncle. It's pretty much bone stock. It's got 5,900 miles on it, and other than that, it just has the Corsa Sport exhaust on it. So it sounds pretty good. It's not too loud, but it's loud. It's this awesome blue color. I don't know the exact color code. I'll probably put it on the screen right now. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool car. I'm excited to drive it, especially after doing the ZR1 review, which you've already seen. And yeah, without further ado, I guess we'll get started. So the Corvette Z06, most of you are probably familiar with the newer Z06 or have seen one before, but the previous generation, the C6 generation, which is what I'm driving now, is probably less recognizable as a differentiation between other C6s to the average person. There are a lot of differences. First of all, you'll notice that it has a more aggressive stance. The hips in the back are wider. You know, it fits a wider tire. This specific car has Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's on them, which are some great tires. I haven't really had a chance to push them or anything yet, but they feel great just with basic driving. The front end of the car is pretty much similar to a regular C6. It does have sort of like a scoop on the front of it, which makes it a lot more aggressive up front. It's got a small splitter at the bottom, and then just a little bit more of an aggressive stance height-wise as well. The suspension tuning's different from the average Corvette, and it also, the biggest difference, has the LS7 motor up front. So the LS7 from the factory makes about 505 crank horsepower, which is very healthy for a naturally aspirated motor. So for those of you that don't know naturally aspirated, the ZR1 that I just reviewed, that was supercharged. Anything that has forced induction is not naturally aspirated. Those of you that know that are rolling your eyes right now, but there's that. So this car so far, I'm in fourth gear cruising at about 45 miles per hour, and you don't feel the speed when you're driving this car. Something I noticed with the ZR1 as well. You're very low, but the speed is kind of a minimized sensation almost, because the car just handles everything so well. Another first thing I noticed is that this car feels a lot smoother than the ZR1 does, which is kind of interesting to me. It handles corners great. The heads-up display right here shows you your speed, shows you your tachometer as well as a G-force meter. And I don't know if you can hear that, but the car pops like amazing whenever you let off the gas. It sounds incredible. The Corsa Sport's a really great system if you're looking to add some volume, but you don't want to like commit to the Corsa Extreme. Just like other Corvettes, the visibility is pretty good. The B-pillar is pretty thick, but you can see just fine in the mirror, and you can also see through the hatchback there. So, you know, it's not a big deal because you're lower than most things, so you can see out of the hatch and see them just fine. Visibility at the front is great. It's a big windshield. You don't have a ton of visibility straight ahead. It's kind of thin, but with a car like this, that's to be expected. But all things considered, it isn't bad. Downshifts sound great. Everything about this car just sounds great. One of the problems with the LS7 when it first came out was that they have a tendency to have issues unless you do a heads cam type build on them. Under acceleration, it sounds amazing. That's the first time I've got on it a little bit more than normal, and it sounds great. See if we can do a little pull here so you guys can see how it performs. There are some cars in front of me, but we'll let them get ahead, and we'll do a little second gear pull here. So I have traction control on, all of that stuff, and we're gonna go ahead and see how it does. So I'm gonna kind of roll into it and then put the foot to the floor. ZR1 felt fast, but something about this naturally aspirated, gigantic 7-liter V8 just puts you back in the seat more, it feels like. The ZR1 was fast, but it was more progressive. This just throws you back immediately. That was a crazy sensation. So the car gets up and goes perfectly. Second gear, no issues hooking up with these tires on it, and it's just crazy how well this car hooks up. And like I said, that was with traction control on. So I don't know if it was limiting the car at all there, but it still felt great. So I'm gonna throw it into 6th gear actually, and wow, yeah, it's extremely quiet, cruise is nice, and like I said, it's extremely smooth, which kind of surprises me. You don't really feel bumps at all, but this is more of, you know, it was a hardcore version when it came out, but they still focused on, you know, at this time the Corvette market was still a little bit older than what they're marketing towards now. It's a fast car and it handles amazing and it does everything you ask it to, but you can still throw golf clubs in the back and go take it to the golf course, which is what a lot of people that own these cars do. And you know, nothing wrong with that. And but it's a fun car nonetheless. The ZR1 was, I think it's called a 3ZR package, which is like the top of the line package. This one is just the base model Z06. So while it is the base model, you do have a leather wrap steering wheel. You have these perforated leather seats with the Z06 emblem embossed in them. And you know, the interior, there's a lot of hard plastic, much more than the ZR1. You know, this dash isn't stitched like the ZR1, but it is a softer material. And you know, you don't have the touchscreen radio here. This radio does just fine, and you don't really need any more. Wow, it's healthy, and the brakes feel great. They really do. You know, that's to be expected on a car like this. There's no sense of losing control in this car, if that makes sense. The car just takes it. It doesn't have any complaints. You don't have any feeling of uncertainty whenever you're doing a pull like that or whenever you're going around a corner. And you know, that's really nice, and that's something that's really desirable whenever you're looking for a performance car. So this specific car will be sent off in around August, I believe, my cousin said, to get a heads cam build done to it at RPM. Some of you might be familiar with their work, but I'm really excited to see how the car is after that. I'm hopeful that we can do another review after that's done to the car. Look forward to that if you enjoy this video. But anyway, we're gonna keep going. I'm about to hit some corners on this road here, and I'm excited to see how this car does in the corners as compared to other cars I've driven and the ZR1. This is basically the same wheelbase as the ZR1. It's the wider, more aggressive Corvette of this generation. So the handling should be pretty similar, especially with these tires on it. And I'm excited to see how it does. Yeah, going back to the interior, you know, the shift knob's leather wrapped. It could be better, but you can always buy an aftermarket one. This material on the armrest is kind of hard, and it feels kind of cheap. The center console is like this fake carbon fiber plastic stuff. I don't even know if it's supposed to be carbon fiber, but you know, it doesn't feel awful. It really doesn't. Here we go, we're gonna hit this corner right here. The car just wants more. It was built for this. Shifting is great. Downshifting is smooth, and you get those super rewarding pops whenever you're kind of decelerating after you downshift. I always expect cars like this to be harsh, but this one just isn't. The exhaust just has a certain growl to it, and it sounds amazing. You know, it's hard to beat the sound that this car emits. It really is. And if you're looking at Corvettes, you know, don't count the C6 Z06 and C6 ZR1 out, even though the new versions are out. They're still great cars, and you can really get them for a good deal now. You know, just kind of swerving right here, it handles amazing. It feels great, and it's super nice. It's a great Grand Tourer. It feels good, the bumps don't hurt, the AC is cold, and you can just cruise in it, but you can also put your foot down and have fun whenever you want. And that's a perfect mix that you want whenever you're looking for a car like this. One thing that I'm sure is an issue is the gas mileage on these, but you know, I've been driving for probably 30 minutes now, and it doesn't seem to be drinking too much gas. I mean, the gas gauge has gone down noticeably, but there's another Corvette. I've always wanted to do that, like wave to someone else in the same type of sports car, but it's never really happened. Even when I had the Mustang, it was a V6, and no one ever wanted to wave to me. So, but this is a different case. You know, the Corvette community is pretty tight knit, and you know, there's a lot of great people in it. exhaust, whenever you get on it, just screams, and I'm sure it sounds absolutely insane from the outside, but this Corsa Sport system is ideal. It really is, because it's quiet when you need it to be, but it screams whenever you're in the higher RPMs, and just sounds incredible. It's a very hot day today, and that's one of the advantages of a naturally aspirated motor, is that you don't have to worry about the temperature affecting boost and things like that. You just can put your foot to the floor and get the same result every time, which is very nice. And the car doesn't want to overheat or anything either. It's stayed under the halfway point of the temp gauge the whole time I've been driving it, even when I'm driving it harder. I'm going to roll the windows down for you guys so you can get a little taste of what it sounds like doing a pull. Is incredibly easy in this car. You know, I'm not the fastest out there, but you know, it's still fun to get those shifts in. You don't feel like you're gonna get locked out or anything. The ZR1 did lock me out of third gear one time. It's a dent to your pride and ego, but it's not a big deal in the end. So yeah, I mean, this car just feels great all the time. You really can't ask for more. Sorry, I'm adjusting the climate controls right now because just having the window down that long, it got hot in here. So yeah, we'll get on this straight road here again, do a quick another pull because it's intoxicating, and we'll probably try to hit one more back road, and that'll be the end of the video. So far as this car goes, I'm impressed in every aspect of it. I really am. Do first gear pull. Right up and went, no complaints. That's amazing. I talked about the ZR1, it gave me this feeling in my chest that I haven't had in forever, and this car does the same thing. It just feels amazing. It's a sensation that's hard to beat. 505 horsepower these days does not sound like a lot to most people, but I assure you that it is, especially when it's naturally aspirated 505 horsepower. And you know, that's to the crank or whatever, but with this exhaust system and the intake or whatever they have on here, it could be closer to the wheel horsepower. But you know, it's hard to say. My complaints would probably be the B-pillar visibility issue. I wish the roof came off. And other than that, really just the fact that it's a base model interior, it feels kind of cheap. But that's to be expected for this era of GM vehicles. You know, you're not getting the best quality on the inside, and that's the same with any other brand. But you know, with the C7, they've really stepped up their game. And like I said, no real complaints. I wish that, you know, the shifter's short, it could be shorter. There's aftermarket support for that. The pedals feel great. They're like these aluminum pedals, which that's another thing that GM could have cheaped out on, but they didn't whenever they were building the Z06 specifically. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's a car that's loads of fun, and you know, you get looks everywhere you go, especially in a color like this. But it's not one of those cars that people are hanging out of their windows trying to take pictures. So it's a perfect balance in my opinion. And oftentimes whenever I do reviews, I'm not hard enough on the cars regarding flaws and things like that. But really, this car, other than the cheap interior and the issue that some of them have with the heads, you know, it's not a big deal. Like, there's not a lot that's wrong with it. Another small complaint I have, which was driver error that time, is the fact that whenever you're downshifting from third to second, sometimes it's easy to go into fourth instead, unless you really force it over. Like I said, driver error, but it's one of those small things that just is kind of an annoyance when you're driving, if it happens to you, which, you know, there's plenty of drivers that are much better than me. So, you know, it's one of those things that just for me personally, kind of annoying, because it's happened to me a few times. But I'm rambling now. Let's find another back road, and we'll cruise on that, and see how it likes the corners. Yeah, it just eats up the corners, and I'm not even getting close to the limits of this car, but it just takes it. It's amazing.